Okay, so today we're going deep on this thing called Project 2025.
Okay.
And it's causing like a lot of buzz right now.
Right.
It's this like massive 920-page document.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge GE.
Yeah.
And it's basically a blueprint from all these like conservative think tanks.
Yeah.
And they're laying out their vision for like if a Republican wins in 2024.
Right. So a lot of people are saying this is like the plan for like a second Trump term.
Yeah, exactly. If he wins.
So that's why we're doing a deep dive on this today.
Yeah.
We want to like break down what's actually in this thing.
Yeah.
Understand what it could mean if like it actually happened.
Right.
And just like figure out why everyone's freaking out about it.
Totally. So first off, like just the sheer scale of this thing is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
920 pages. It's not just like your typical policy paper.
No.
This is like a roadmap for like reshaping the entire government.
Yeah, it goes way beyond the usual stuff.
And like you mentioned, the Heritage Foundation is like a big player in this, right?
Yeah, they're kind of the driving force behind it all.
So for people who like maybe haven't heard of them, can you give us like the rundown?
Sure. So the Heritage Foundation, they're like a really prominent conservative think tank. They've been around for decades, and they're like super influential in Republican circles.
Yeah.
They basically advocate for like the classic conservative stuff, like free markets,
Yeah.
limited government,
Okay.
strong national defense.
Got it.
And they've had a lot of success actually getting their ideas into policy.
Oh, yeah.
Like back in the Reagan era, remember all that talk about tax cuts and deregulation? A lot of that came from Heritage.
Wow. So they've been around.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they're not new to this whole policy thing.
Nope.
But what makes this different?
Yeah.
Like, what makes Project 2025 different from just like a regular Republican platform?
It's the level of detail and like how actionable it is. It's not just like a wish list. It's like, okay, here's exactly how we're going to do this, like step by step. And one of the like most dramatic things they propose is basically putting the entire federal bureaucracy under the president's control.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's like a huge power shift.
So you're saying they want to get rid of like the whole civil service system?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. They want to make it so the president can hire and fire almost anyone in the government.
So like analysts, scientists, all those folks?
Yeah, potentially thousands of people could lose their job protections.
Wow, and they'd be replaced with people who are loyal to the president?
Well, that's the idea, yeah. They'd be political appointees.
Okay, so obviously that's going to be controversial.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are going to say that's way too much power for one person.
Absolutely. There's a big concern about like what happens to checks and balances.
Right.
You know, does this just lead to a super politicized government where like every agency is just doing what the president wants and not actually serving the people?
And there are historical examples of this kind of power grab that like haven't gone so well, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some haven't ended well at all.
Okay, so that's just one piece of this massive plan.
Right.
And it's not just about like restructuring the government. They're also going after some pretty hot button issues.
Oh, yeah, they're wading right into the culture wars.
Like immigration.
Yeah, they want way stricter border control, more deportations.
Okay.
And they even talk about like denying federal aid to states that have sanctuary cities.
Wow.
So places that protect undocumented immigrants.
That's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's definitely a hardline stance.
Okay, so what about the environment? What are they saying about that?
Well, their big thing is rolling back environmental regulations.
Like the ones that protect clean air and water?
Yeah, exactly. They argue that those regulations are like strangling businesses. And they also want to really boost fossil fuel production.
So like more drilling, more coal mining.
Yeah, basically.
And didn't they also say something about pulling out of international climate agreements?
Yeah, they're pretty skeptical of the whole climate change thing.
Okay, so that's a big shift from where things are now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then there's a social issue.
Right.
Which are always a lightning rod.
Always.
And they don't shy away from those at all.
Nope, they take some pretty strong positions.
So what are they saying about abortion?
They want to restrict access to abortion as much as possible.
Okay.
And they talk about eliminating funding for things like Planned Parenthood.
Wow, that would be a huge change for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
And what about LGBTQ rights?
That's another area where they're pushing for big changes.
Like what kind of changes?
Well, they want to roll back some of the protections that are already in place. And some of the language they use is pretty concerning for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going for like a pretty traditional definition of family and marriage.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay, so we've got a potential power shift in the government. Major changes proposed for immigration, the environment said, social policies,
Right.
and then there's the whole economic side of things.
Yeah. What's their vision for the economy?
Well, surprise, surprise, they're all about tax cuts.
Ah, the classic conservative playbook.
Right.
So who are they cutting taxes for?
Mostly businesses and high earners.
Okay, so the idea is that if those folks have more money, they'll invest it and create jobs.
Yeah, that's the theory.
Yeah.
It's called supply-side economics.
Right, trickle-down economics.
But hasn't that been debunked?
Well, it's definitely controversial.
Yeah.
A lot of economists say it doesn't really work that way.
Right.
They say it just leads to more inequality.
Yeah, the rich get richer and the poor stay poor.
Exactly. And it can actually hurt the economy in the long run.
So it seems like Project 2025 is setting up some big economic battles,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
if it ever gets implemented.
If.
But what's really interesting to me is how much they focus on actually putting this plan into execution.
Yeah, it's not just a theoretical document.
Right. It's like they're saying, okay, here's how we're going to make this happen.
And that's where those 4 pillars of their implementation strategy come in.
Right. The policy guide, the personnel database.
The Presidential Administration Academy and the first 180 Days Playbook.
Yeah, it's like they've got it all figured out.
They're not messing around.
So walk us through those pillars. Like, what's the personnel database?
So that's basically a list of like pre-vetted people who are ready to fill key positions in the government.
So they've already got their picks lined up.
Yeah, it's like a ready-made administration.
Wow.
And then the Presidential Administration Academy, that's like a training ground for these folks.
So they're going to teach them how to actually run the government.
Yeah, how to implement the Project 2025 agenda.
Okay, and then the first 180 Days Playbook.
That's like a step-by-step guide for what they're going to do in the first 6 months.
So they're not going to waste any time.
Nope. They're going to hit the ground running.
It's kind of scary how organized they are.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive.
In a way.
In a way.
But all this planning and all these bold proposals, they've obviously stirred up a lot of controversy.
Oh, yeah. Tons of people are pushing back against this.
Like, what are they saying?
Well, they're worried about all the stuff we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
the concentration of power, the rollback of regulations,
Yeah.
the potential cuts to social programs.
Right.
They say this could really hurt vulnerable populations.
Yeah, and some people are even saying this is like a threat to democracy.
Yeah. It's a pretty heated debate.
And then there's the whole Trump connection,
Right.
which just adds another layer to all of this.
For sure.
So the White House is denying that Trump is directly involved in Project 2025.
Right.
But a lot of the people who helped create it are now working in his administration.
Yeah. So it's hard to believe there's enough connection there.
Right.
It makes you wonder how much influence this project is already having.
Yeah, and what it could mean for the future if Trump or someone like him wins again.
Exactly.
So to wrap things up, we've taken a deep dive into Project 2025,
We have
this super ambitious plan to reshape the American government.
top to bottom.
We've looked at their proposals on everything from government structure to immigration to the environment to social issues to the economy.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
And we've talked about the controversy surrounding it and the potential impact it could have on the future of American politics.
It's a lot, too, to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, sure.
So as you're processing all this, here's a question to ponder.
Okay.
If Project 2025 actually became reality, how would it change the relationship between the government and the people?
That's a good question.
Would it be a good thing or a bad thing?
Hard to say.
Yeah, it's a really complex issue,
Definitely.
but it's something we all need to be thinking about
Absolutely.
because it could have a huge impact on all of our lives.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, well, that's it for a deep dive on Project 2025.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
It was a good discussion.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Me too.
All right, everyone. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.
Oh.
See you.
This has been a Project NJ Studios production.